Alright, people, alright. إن الحمد لله وكفاه والصلاة والسلام على رسوله المصطفى وعلى عباده الذين ارتضى ومن بهداهم اهتدى وبآثار أهل المدينة اقتفى وبعد فسلام الله على القوم أهلا وسهلا بكم ومرحبا وأنين لايتس bienvenidos a todos بخير راغلي people خشامديد and Swagatam. What is going on? Alright. Ramadan Mubarak, Ramadan Kareem, Barakallahu lakum, wa fikum, wa alaykum fi hadha الشهر المبارك. آمين. الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. Wow. Huh? What? Arabi hati hai. Oh, we have to demonstrate it that we understand the Arabic, you know. All right, what is going on, people? Somebody said you look. I'm seeing you first time. Okay, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaban. You don't even follow the sunnah. Why people listen to you Why people listen to you? Oh. Let me check on my Facebook, gente. See what's going down. Where are you peoples? Alright, let me just check that everybody can just wait for that to load. Where's my there it is. Alright, put my यार इसको यहाँ रखना चाहिए था. I have to put it on top of Freud's book, my cup of coffee. Cello. Well, you know, I mean, he is after all doing over Moses and monotheism in it. What is going on? Let me move this aside, people. That's better. Now I can see you guys. Sid, you're doing it. Robin, ahlan wa sahlan. Angry faces out in Ramadan. Allah, the angry faces coming for me. I love it. This one. You know, it's good. You see, any emotion but apathy. Allah. It's the disaffected. It's the disinterested. Those who are apathetic, indifferent, that we can't do anything about. But those full of some kind of rage. This one nice, you know, this one. Right, so let me just share this whilst we're loading up. What I'll do is I should have a shairi for the day, people. A poem. Allah. I'm going to focus on some live questions today. Let me see, but first and foremost, Allah.
तंज करना है मुझ पर,
वाह. कीजिए.
कर रहे हैं सभी, आप भी कीजिए, देख भी लीजिए, बात भी कीजिए, देख भी लीजिए. खानदानी मुनाफिक हैं आप इसलिए, दोस्तों की जड़ें खोखली कीजिए. आप इसके सिवा कर भी सकते हैं क्या? यानी जो कर रहे हैं यही कीजिए. मैं गलत बात बिल्कुल नहीं मानता, बात करनी है जो भी खरी कीजिए. जिस घड़ी ये आदमी खुद में खुदा हो जाएगा, कहने वाले ने कहा था सब फना हो जाएगा. ये मोहब्बत है, ये मर जाने से भी जाती नहीं. तू कोई कैदी नहीं है जो रिहा हो जाएगा, और शाम के मंजर को तकना भी इबादत है मेरी. मुझको जाने दे, मेरा सूरज कज़ा हो जाएगा.
Wow, people. That brings me to, for those of you just tuning in, as always, people, the drill. Like, subscribe, the usual. Let me just go through the various parts of the drill whilst people are tuning in. Looking a bit lean there. Right, so if you haven't caught up with my MindTrap, people, I've done more than that. The latest was there is also Dr. Shabir Ali is on there, so do check that out. Other than that, people, something interesting, some news crossed my mind. I mean, crossed my I came across something interesting, fascinating in UK, how to tackle crime amidst this virus. So first of all, the virus, a big up going out to the virus as always. No virus can beat us. No virus. But this was it, people. Check this out, people.
I don't know what's going on, but as you can see, that's 4 armed police there with weapons drawn. So whoever they're
some serious case, serious. It's going down, people.
Ready to kick it off now, and go in. So my imagination's going wild because right now, the way they're approaching with caution, I'm actually thinking it's a 6'5" Donny, 22 stone. And he's 100% ginger for sure, right? And he's got a tattoo of an axe on the side of his neck, right? Because as you can see, there's armed police already there with guns, right? And the dog is there just in case this guy can handle holding about 8 shots. Because look at the way he's throwing the bins, man, right? This is very nerve-wracking because I don't know who they got. And look at this woman here. She's telling everyone to move back. She's worried and she's moving mad nervous, There's vans, there's cars, there's armed police.
What's going on?
Everything
all these resources
is on this house right now, right? This has to be a ginger, man, because you have to approach them gingers with caution, because the real madman ones are hard to handle, man. The ones that are really about that life. And look, they got the guns drawn, look.
Drum rolls.
As you can see, look at the way they're stepping back, man. Look, they are shook. Look at the way they're stepping back.
What
is going on?
Mullah Jat himself.
Oh my God. Look. Are you telling me all this is for Mrs. Doubtfire? They could have sent someone from probation to deal with this, man, instead of sending armed police, dog, all the cars.
All that for Mrs. Doubtfire.
So how much does it cost to make this kind of arrest? Look, all this for Mrs. Doubtfire. This Donnet must know fucking alien kung fu, man. Because
people, this is sometimes called the overreaction. The overreaction to. So I just got a message from Doc. Doc, you're doing it. Doc, we gotta have Doc back on another podcast, by the way. Are people already being wound up by my presence? Are they thinking that the shaitan was supposed to be locked up during Ramadan? And ما هذا يعني ما هذا الذي ننظر إليه. What is this? So peoples, let's take a look at what some of you guys are saying. Some of the questions. I did say I was gonna focus on some of the live questions today. Is he a mufti, not a zombie? Haris G, you're doing it. Right, so what is going down? Did you get the Mufti, did you see the 20-year-old get stabbed in broad daylight in Birmingham? Right, I saw the video clip of it. I'm very I was very saddened by just watching the clip. I saw it it was being shared, it was viral on a few different sites as well. Utterly it's so kind of, when you see things like that, it's so damning of the kind of bleak future that there is for these people. Honestly, I kind of almost, I'm in a state of despondency and despair sometimes when I think about young guys, because it's this kind of stuff. I don't know whether on one hand, people are saying maybe because we've got more social media, we've got more, recording devices, that these things are being, they're more in the visual spectrum. We're seeing them more just because people are recording them more, whereas they haven't actually increased. I don't know if that is true. It is nonetheless very sad, very disappointing to see. It is nothing but an utter waste of life, of complete disregard to the sanctity of humanity. Honestly, these people are lost. I have no idea what they're fighting over. I mean, I assume it's either drug related, gang related. These are the main kind of things. And these are utterly meaningless. Honestly, I want to say that, some of these, first of all, as far as drugs are concerned, the amount of hard work that some of these people put into bloody their drug dealing rackets, if they put that kind of effort and hard work into entrepreneurship, I tell you that many of them would be like amazing entrepreneurs. Like they work, some of these people work so hard, it's so ridiculous. It's kind of mind-boggling when you think about it. So it is nothing but a poison in the bloodline of the communities. So, and it's really kind of a pandemic amongst Muslims. It's amongst other communities as well, but amongst Muslims, for some reason, Muslims are at the forefront of drug dealing. I don't know why that is. Is it because obviously opportunity meets availability to resources, in the sense that heroin and things like that, a lot of it can come from Pakistan, Afghanistan, those kind of places. That is the main axis of the world for the largest producer of heroin. Does that play a factor, or is it just the kind of roadman culture and things like this? I mean, I don't know what it is, but it is very, when you see these things, it's very disappointing, very disheartening. I get, I don't know, I'm at a loss for words. May Allah make things easy for people. My advice to young people that are in that age range, like let's say you're in the late teens going into the early mid-20s, like that range of people, is look, these years will pass. Do not, under any circumstances, seriously, do not engage with these kind of crowds. Even if they are your friends, I mean, sure, you can be friends with them. There's nothing, I'm not saying don't be friends, but don't get involved. Don't, if you know that they are going to be doing something, don't go to that place. Invest these years in something meaningful. Start up a business, let it fail. I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, at this age, a lot of young people are living with their parents. They don't have the burden of paying mortgages or paying, rent or doing things like that. A lot of their expenses are luxurious expenses or secondary, tertiary kind of expenses. So you can do a startup, you can invest it in learn a skill, learn anything you can. This is the time. This will not come back, honestly. And it will fly by just like this as well. And the last thing you want is to end up, doing these kind of things. God forbid, either you get killed, you end up killing some other person out there, you end up rotting away in prison, or spending valuable years of your life in prison. These things, may Allah save each and all. But I would really emphasize that, at a young age, a person has a high risk and an exploratory attitude to them, that they are prepared to kind of explore things. It's like Erik Erikson, he puts young people in that category of low commitment, high exploration. And I would say, put that to work. Learn something. Learn language. If nothing, learn languages. I tell you that it will never go to waste. A skill you learn in life never goes to waste. Honestly, you will 20 years later, you will 30 years later be like, thank God I learnt that back then. I'm telling you, it's seriously, I must have been about that age when I started learning Arabic, and it's one of the best things I did in my life, honestly. It set me out on a path. When I began it, I had no high ambitions. I had no high kind of expectations. I did not, when I started learning Arabic, let me tell you something, people. I must have been about 17, something like that, 17 and a half, something. And I had gone to Umrah. I had, so I had gone to Umrah, and I'd just gone with my mother and some extended family and like a group. I didn't really know much about what was going on. I knew the basics. I read up some basic things, do this, do that. And when I was there, I realized, I can't speak to anyone really in Arabic. I mean, I could speak to Urdu to some people and speak English, but I couldn't speak Arabic. I couldn't. And when I left, I came back and I thought to myself, I'm a Muslim. I adhere to this faith. Arabic is a core part of this faith. The Quran is in Arabic. Why don't I invest some time? Like, I thought to myself, why don't I learn Arabic? And at that stage in life, I didn't have much going for me anyway. I mean, I used to work part-time, and not part-time. I think I'd actually finished my college thing and was working. So I started just studying Arabic, and I just started eventually studying it on my own. I mean, I started with a few different people, and then just on my own, I got a book. It was the only thing I used to look forward to every day. Like, I used to wake up in the morning, after Subah, all I used to do was, for 20 minutes to 30 minutes, I used to every day go through that Quranic Arabic book. I used to make notes of everything. And then sometimes at work, when, let's say I've got, I'm just kind of, I don't know, just fiddling about, doing stuff. I'm just kind of just sitting there. I used to work for some insurance company, and in their IT thing, I used to do IT for them. So at that, if I'm just kind of doodling, doing stuff, what I would start doing is just practicing the Arabic charts that you have, like the verb conjugations. So I would just start like, how you have fa'ala, fa'alat, fa'alta, fa'alti, fa'altu, like this. And so I would just conjugate different verbs, darasta, or the different forms, however you want to see, istifsartu, however, I just keep practicing. And at this stage, I had no intention that, I'm going to go and study and become a hafiz or an alim or a mufti. And in fact, if you told me, I would have thought that's impossible. But sometimes you take a certain path in life, and it will, your whole trajectory has been realigned, and you will never know until you get there. You will think, bloody hell. And, at the time, I remember when I did think about taking it a bit seriously, the studies, I remember speaking to a sheikh who'd come from abroad, and he was doing a talk, and I just asked him that, Sheikh, I'm thinking of going to study. What do you think? And he said to me that he was an American sheikh, and hopefully I'm going to have him on my MindTrap this week. But now he said to me that, look, he said that studying this deen was the best decision I made in my life. He said, if I could go back and people gave me so much money not to do it, I wouldn't take it. Like, I would do this, what I did. And that was like a kind of like a nail in that decision. So my point for saying this is, people, if you, at whatever age you're at, if you start doing something, you are realigning your trajectory. You just don't know where it's going to get to. But it will get there. It will change a course, an entire course. So yes, sir, Allah, may Allah make things easy. Right, so alright, Salik, hope you're well. Shukran, shukran. Day by day, can you read my super chat? अब हमें क्या मालूम है? What? I can't go as far back as I go. I can't see any other super chats. So, people, if you do want to send any extraordinary questions, any questions extraordinaire, you can send them as a super chat always. Right. The internet was playing up today. I think, yeah, I've heard that even when I was loading this, it was playing up a little, but alhamdulillah, it worked. Right. So, what is going on, people? What is going on? Somebody said, Mufti, check this about Jesus's birth. Okay, that's... I can't obviously click on a... यार, अबे साले show कर रहा हूँ. How can I just click on a link and just go off to a... For all I know, it's one of those dodgy links. As soon as I click it, the sounds are going to go off. And everybody knows what I'm talking about. You nutty, you haramis. And the worst would be those people just about to pray Taraweeh and they click it. And then in a state of panic, the worst thing they drop their phones. So they're like, people are like, yaar, what the hell is he? What are you watching? Again. And they're like, well, I've watched Mufti's MindTrap episode with Sheikh Kashif and he said it wasn't haram, so... Right, so... God. Those are some of the... You see, me, I always have earphones on, like, quite often. I'm always wearing my earphones, so whenever I open certain things sent on groups, especially those, the lads groups, you have to be wary. So I always make sure I've got... And I'm like, you haramis, thought you're going to get me. What books are you reading, listening to currently? Okay, there's a few. Speaking of earphones, people, somebody said to me, I should review certain products. Not that I had that in mind, but I was actually speaking, I'm well into my kind of perfumes and things like that. But this, by the way, people, I've just got them again. These are Bang & Olufsen's H9, the third generation. Oh, I totally love the sound on these, honestly. As for, if somebody uses earphones a lot, they are a bit on the pricey side, but their sound is epic, honestly. If you're a bit of an audiophile, you will love the sound. The only thing I don't like about them is that and I've tried so many different headsets, is that you see, by selecting between devices, it only lets you connect actively to two, but it doesn't let you just simply change by clicking like the way Bose do. Like Bose, you can just click and you can have up to like 9 or sometimes more devices stored, and you select the one and it automatically shifts. But on these, that's the QC 235. But these, the sound leaves Bose behind, but that's a bit of a kind of a downer on it. Yeah, so peoples, yeah. So I mean, yeah, but these are like obviously the over-ears. They beat regular headphones. You can't touch things like that, and the noise cancellation is pretty strong. But yeah, become a sponsor for the colognes. Oh, speaking of perfumes, I found a new runner-up, people. Something up there that gets the Mufti vote. So my top perfumes for men, this is, of all times, are one of these I just got recently, so I'll tell you about that. It has to obviously be Creed Aventus, obviously, for men. I love Tom Ford's ombre leather, even though it's kind of like a mid-range. It's not He's upmost. So they are amongst the lead. But recently, I also I have to add there's a niche. If you guys are into niche fragrances for men, there's from the house of Damali, Layth. It is amazing for men. I mean, I have to put it up there honestly in first place. I love it anyway. They have a Layth exclusive as well. I don't like that as much, but just Layth up there. Damali's Layth. But recently, I've just acquired. What I do is, you see, I'm really into fragrances. So when I hear something about certain fragrances, I get a decant. I'll always kind of order a small amount, test them out if I like them or not. And so Creed Spicewood. Wow. All I can say is it is amazing. Honestly, it is absolutely. So if you guys are into your fragrances, that's an absolute must. I feel anyway. Yeah, and there is for women's what I've come across recently, or tried out, not not on me, but tried out. I tried out the little kind of samples for is MFK Maison Francis Kirk Jean. His Baccarat Rouge, that is actually I do like it, to be fair. I mean, it is good, but also Grand Soir is pretty good as well by the same house. There you go, people. Some perfume kind of recommendations. Let's move on to some questions. What's going on, people? What's going on? Right, somebody said try out Ombre Nomad. I'll try that out. I'm always looking for niche perfumes to try out. I'm kind of addicted to it. I'm like a shopaholic, honestly. I am a shopaholic. Why lie? I'm like, huh? What's this perfume? What's this one? What's this? I've bought so many, and I've thought that, and I get the kind of samples for them, and useless. Oh, good, but yeah. So yeah, tobacco, vanilla tobacco, tobacco vanilla for Tom Ford is definitely up there. Right, people, what is going on? Somebody has asked, Yamina has asked, what about Isa is not dead but protected by Allah? Right, so, right, I've got a detailed video on this called A Prelude to Why There Is No Second Coming of Jesus. You see, if you want to believe, I don't have an objection to people wanting to believe in Jesus coming back. That's, it's entirely their choice. It's their beliefs. It's up to them. I don't really believe it. I don't believe I can. To me, I think this is a myth that caught on in the 1st century to 2nd century of Islam, between there, and it was inherited by the Middle Eastern Christian Arabs, and it crept into Islam through Christianity, combined with a number of things, not just Christian. It wasn't just that Muslims kind of saw Christians and took it, but it came at a time where there was political turmoil. There was a floating concept of a Messiah to come. Like, this messianic vision became kind of widespread. This really spread through the Shia belief. Sunnis just kind of inherited it along the way. Initially, this was a Shia thing, that they will be saved by a rightly guided Mahdi to come. The Mahdi means the rightly guided, this guided person, the savior will come for them. And for the Shiites, it made sense, because, you see, the Shiite belief is like a kind of like an occult belief system in which there's a lot of repression of a message. So the Shia believe that because the rightful people had their rights usurped from them, taken from them, that somebody will come to realign everything and set it straight, to set the record straight. Somebody will emerge. This savior, this Messiah will emerge. especially in the light of Bani Umayyah, the Umayyad dynasty that ruled and reigned from Damascus. So you see a lot of this literature emerges anti-Damascus. There's a lot of anti-Damascus literature that emerges in the several decades after, like let's say up, I don't know, like maybe up until about 70 years after the Prophet, between that time and even more. But within that first century, there's an immense amount of anti-Damascus literature that is being circulated. A lot of sayings, a lot of prophecies, and so it was fertile ground for something like the return of Jesus Christ. You see, that seed could easily be planted in that soil. In a normal situation, it wouldn't be able to, because people just wouldn't buy that. But here, a lot of people were expecting a Messiah. So then they're told, well, actually, the Messiah that you're expecting, first, it was supposed to be one of the grandchildren, great-grandchildren of the Prophet. But now, the Messiah that you're awaiting is none other than Jesus Christ himself. So, and Muslims just kind of gobble this up. They just, I mean, I don't believe all Muslims did, but many of them did. Hence the hadith that, oh, he will descend on the tower of Manarat al-Bayda in Damascus, which, by the way, didn't exist in the time of the Prophet. The tower was built in the time of Bani Umayyah. And why would he land there? He would land there because he's going to destroy the Damascus and Umayyad rule. The Shia are the ones who are, pushing this. So, yeah, I mean, that's how it began. I'm not saying the Shia began this as a conspiracy. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the Shia began massively with a messianic vision. This messianic vision, once coupled with turbulent times, political kind of tyranny, exponential leaps, like all of a sudden, imagine you go from like Bedouin culture to an aristocratic empire, literally in years. Like within one person's lifetime, he would have witnessed nomadic Arabs now ruling and reigning supreme on a global level. Like, I mean, that was unimaginable. So when you put all of these things together, it makes a kind of fertile medium, a culture to kind of, for such theories to kind of cultivate, take root, and then exponentially multiply. So I hope that helps. All right, so you're going against the majority view of Maliki for the minority view. Right, okay, you see, look, these things on whether Jesus is coming back or not. Like I said in the beginning, I don't really care if you believe in it. I'm not telling you to leave your beliefs and come jump ships, right? So I'm just saying it doesn't really make sense from an Islamic viewpoint, to me. Yeah. If you want me to blindly follow you, then according to the people, the theologians, my Aqidah would be false anyway. Because in Aqidah, you're not allowed to blindly follow someone. You have to kind of believe it. So if I don't believe it, I don't believe it. I mean, what's the point if you're going to tell me, yes, but Qadi Iyad believed it? He may have believed it. But I mean, what do you want me to do? Like, what do you, you're going to say, well, Ibn Rushd believed it. He probably did. And what? So am I supposed to be a mental slave to these people just because I rate them and I call, to me, they are dons of the Maliki Madhab? It doesn't mean that now I just become blind. I mean, I'm sure if they would despise me as an individual to see somebody just blindly following them. So it's never, and this is a belief issue. It's not that important, by the way. It's not, despite what some Sunni people are saying nowadays. Oh my God, this is so important. It's like, acha, so important. Es muy importante. ¿Por qué, hermano? ¿Por qué? Because, you see, the irony is this as well, that when you look at all the material, it actually makes zero sense, because Jesus doesn't seem to have any purpose for coming back. There's zero purpose. Because people, when you ask Muslims when you ask some people, why do you believe in Jesus coming back? They say, well, he's going to kill the Dajjal. But actually, the Hadith don't say that. Only a tiny 1 or 2 Hadith say that. The majority of them have no mention of Dajjal. The majority of them mention he's going to come back to rule the world as a king. अच्छा, gospel, अच्छा, gospel पढ़ा रहे हैं हम. We're teaching the gospels. Jesus will descend to rule as a just king in the kingdom of God on earth. अच्छा, Sunday school आए हैं का. So I mean, this is my, you see. So, and even when you look at, by the way, check this out. According to these narrations, where does he kill the Dajjal? By the way, the Dajjal is a useless point, because as soon as Jesus comes, the Dajjal is kind of like an inflatable, like a deflated doll, just kind of dies. Just there. He's just like, withers away and just dies. But where does he die? Now, this is interesting, right? Around Damascus, where? Babil Lud. Okay, Babil Lud. Where was St. George killed? Bab al-Lud. St. George is killed by who? Diocletian. Diocletian, in his age, I believe it was Diocletian, in his age was called the Antichrist, as was Nero as well. And he kills St. George at Bab al-Lud. And now Jesus will come back and kill the Antichrist at Bab al-Lud, thereby avenging the death of St. George, which, by the way, he was supposed to have come back then at the time of St. George, the Christians believed. You see, this is a pure Christian narrative. It's got like nothing to do with like Arabia, Mecca, Medina. It's nothing to do. It's all St. George, Diocletian, avenging the Romans, attacking the saints. It's nothing, kingdom of heaven on earth. Even according to that narration, when things will get bad on earth, where will Jesus take people for sanctuary? Mecca? No. Medina? No. Where will he take them? Mount Sinai. That's in the Hadith. How does anybody read this stuff? It's pure taken out of a Christian narrative and a Judeo-Christian. It's nothing to do with the Islamic, the kind of Arabian heritage of this thing. But anyway, that's my choice. I don't want to believe in it. I don't want to believe in it. Look, if you want to believe in it, it's fine. It doesn't bother me. I'm not like, it ain't my mission to kind of convince people about this. I just was asked about it, so I spoke. Cool. Let's move on to some other questions. That's enough of, this is interesting. Not necessarily everything in this book, but I'm reading another book right now. This is called Moses and Monotheism by Sigmund Freud. Ziggy. Freud was a legend. I have to say, I do. There is a maqam for Freud that I hold dearly, right? But in this, it's interesting. He has a kind of theory which another author that I'm reading, that book is downstairs. It's called Moses and Akhenaten. So Akhenaten was one of the pharaohs. The author, his name is Ahmed Osman. Yeah, I'm going to try to reach out to him if I can get him on a podcast. His theory is that Moses was Akhenaten. And even if I'm not necessarily so convinced, but I'm so intrigued, I'm reading through the book, I'm only through a portion through it yet. it is I'm honestly, I'm mind blown by some of his kind of just the way he's doing. I love seeing thinking that is out of the box, whether I agree with it or not. I find it so intriguing that when people think out of a box, and how they come up with theories, and even if they are somewhat, like, I don't fully buy it, or maybe, or it's made me reconsider one or 2 points, but not the whole thing. I don't know, but it's a journey, people. It's a journey. But I am going through that right now. It's very interesting. He has a very different. He's an Egyptian scholar who's been really looking into this for, I think, a few decades now, and he's written several books on this. He has a whole different theory on stuff, and some of it gets quite controversial. But as I know more about it, I'll kind of discuss it. Right, Zaim, how do we understand Ibrahim alayhi salam asking Allah to show him the revival of the birds? Why don't we witness miracles in our day and age to increase faith? What? Brother has asked a beautiful question. Beautiful question. The brother has asked. Right, so first of all, and there was another question as well by Kapil towards the end of last MindTrap discussing Halloween. I noticed he said similar to magic and jinn is real. You stayed quiet, is it? Out of respect. Yeah, I mean, not every... Look, okay, I'll answer that question first. When I have guests on MindTrap, the point isn't... Okay, I'll tell you what the point is not and what it is. The point is not to try and get into an argument or a debate with these people. The point is to have a discussion, to let the other person express his views. Sometimes, depending on... It could depend on many things, the context. It could depend on how much time we have left. It could depend on anything, how I'm feeling, what's the mood, I may challenge certain views. Sometimes I may not, because my views are already known on certain issues, and they're already out there on YouTube. So it's not about trying to catch the person out and try to kind of drill them or say, well, wait a minute, what are you, what's going on here, what's going on there. That's not an objective of MindTrap. So sometimes if people say things, sure, I might pick up on it, I might kind of question it. Sometimes I might not. It may just be out of respect. It may be that sometimes, I don't want the other person to feel too uncomfortable. Because that's important as well. At the end of the day, even if it's virtual, but they are a guest, and I don't want to kind of them to feel like, oh, this person invited me live and turned it into like some kind of an argument, because that's not what I want it to be about. Cool. Ibrahim alayhi salam asking Allah for the revival of the dead birds. Zaim, I have got a video on that. If you check it out, I go into much detail. It is not actually, he does not actually kill the birds. And even though many people interpret it like that, but the verse actually says, place juz'an, that a piece, but this could mean a piece of the bird or one of each one of these birds on the mountain tops. So what Ibrahim alayhi salam, he has these birds, he's told that he wants to understand, that he wants to understand life and death, and he wants to understand these things, that how will people come back from the dead? How will they come? How does this work? And Allah says, take these birds, but don't just take them like here and now. Take care of them. خُذْ أَرْبَعَةً مِّنَ الطَّيْرِ فَسُرْهُنَّ إِلَيْكَ. Now this is interesting, because surhunna, some people said it meant kill them, but that doesn't make any sense, because it says فَسُرْهُنَّ إِلَيْكَ, towards you, or kill them towards you. What the hell does that mean? And sur is not a verb about killing anyway. But some people try to say, oh, in Syriac it meant this, and in this language it meant this. But in Arabic, it comes from the actual kind of the surar, the actual, the tweeting and the chirping of the birds. And what people do is they mimic that. People who take care of birds, they will kind of mimic bird cries to take care of them. فَصُرْهُنَّ إِلَيْكَ. Nurture these birds. Make them, and many of the Mufassirin will say, Amilhunna ilayk. That make them become attached to you. So this must have taken a lengthy, a considerable amount of time. Maybe days, maybe weeks. This took maybe more, maybe a few months. But he nurtured, Ibrahim alayhi salam, these birds. And he made them, فَأَمَالَهُنَّ إِلَيْهِ. He kind of made them be inclined to him, to have an affinity towards him. Then Allah says, ثُمَّ جَعَلْ عَلَى كُلِّ جَبَلٍ, that go and place a piece, one on far and wide. Like split them up now, very far. And they're birds. They're free to go. They can fly. ثُمَّ دَعُوهُنَّ. Now, as you are far away, call them. They will come flying to you. Yet the souls have a greater affinity to Allah. This was the lesson. That how the arwah, how this has a much greater affinity to God. When God calls it, it will reply. This was the kind of lesson that's how you understand some people, because you see, the thing is, because miraculous stories are easier to kind of fly with people, because people like hearing extraordinary events. So along the way, right. So okay, people, if you get please keep the comments relevant, otherwise you will be blocked. Okay, but do kind of look out. Moderators, do check who we're blocking and things like that. So I hope that makes sense. Okay. Right. So your answer. Did Sulaiman alayhi salam really talk to an ant? No, he didn't really talk to an ant like that. I've got a whole video clip on that as well. If you check up my video clip on the throne of the Queen of Sheba, and I speak about how to approach narratives within the Quran, a zoom in and zoom out perspective. Do watch that. It's in much detail and I explain it much better. Mark Lonzetta. Were the 7 Fuqaha of Madina chosen amongst the ulama to give fatwa, or did they emerge organically? Could you elaborate on their formation? Right, alright. What is it? من كان يقتدي في هذا الدين بأئمة. No. من لم يقتدي في هذا الدين بأئمة فقسمته ضيزى عن الحق خارجة فخذهم عبيد الله عروة قاسم وأبو بكر سعيد سليمان خارجة. Allah. Still got it. That's a poem about the 7 Fuqaha of Madina. Peoples, you might think I grow old. Abhi hai. Right, so that's the poet says that whosoever does not follow the A'imma of this deen, the Imams, then he might as well, be to waste, really. That take them, فَخُذْهُمْ, that these are the ones, Ubaydullahi Urwatu Qasimun, Sa'idun Suleiman Abu Bakr Kharija. Now, there is a difference of opinion on who these 7 are. I think that the term seven just flies and it just sounds good, it's smooth, so people liked it. Al-Fuqaha Sab'a, they are the teachers of Imam, they contribute to the fiqh of Imam Malik. So from them you get people like Ibn Hurmuz, Rabi'atul Ra'i studies with them, Ibn Shihab Zuhri studies with them, who then all teach Imam Malik. So it kind of funnels down. But there were more as well. There were people like, some people said Nafi' should be in there, some people said, so they did disagree on some of the, who these seven, the magnificent seven, who they were at the time. So cool. But I mean, they just kind of rose to prominence. That's what they were, just dons of their time. That's all. So it wasn't that, it was an organic appearance, if you like. Right. Do قریب الرحمن قریب Mufti قریب جی قریب الرحمن adabars people. Qareeb, currently an imam in the US, used to study with me in Jamia Benoria back in the days. We used to share dorms. Roommates. All right, I gotta get him on one of the MindTrap so we can chat about the Benoria days. Right, so do saints exist in Islam? Right. Does objective really exist? Wah. Right, so difference between Ifrit and Jinn in Rahman. Yeah, I mean, these things are not really too clear. قال عفريت من الجن. Now Allah says an Ifrit min al-Jinn. What did this actually mean? You see, to many people it was a jinn. Some people felt jinn was maybe a category, a kind of people. Ifrit means somebody very powerful, like a powerful being, a powerful kind of... So if we're thinking of demons, then you're thinking a very mighty, powerful demon. But it doesn't have to be literally from, you can get shayateen min al-ins as well, like human demons, so to speak. It's a metaphor, but yeah. So these things are not really clearly explained in the Quran. Somebody asked, Mufti, what's the latest time to eat suhoor? Right, so... Right, there's a difference of opinion. I have said if people are struggling, you can go with the fatwa that you can eat up until enough time to pray your subah before sunrise. That's sufficient. That I have given that fatwa. That is in line with some of the salaf, there's a hadith, I believe, from Hudhayfa and other Sahaba who used to say that we used to continue eating, وَهُوَ النَّهَارِ, and it was daylight, غَيْرَ أَنَّ الشَّمْسِ لَمْ تَطْلَعْ, except sunrise hadn't yet occurred. So, and that was in the Prophet's time. فَمَا بَالُكَ بِيَوْمِنَا هَذَا, what do you think about today when things are so messed up and the days are so lengthy in the West, Northern Hemisphere? So yeah, all right. What are the somebody had asked about, does objective really exist? That's an interesting question. I would feel that there is some form of objectivity, even if it is not truly comprehended by us. Because without that, what we're saying is there is nothing. Like there's just every person's own subjective, which there's subjectivity, how we see things. Then there's an intersubjectivity, a shared subjectivity. This intersubjectivity is what we tend to call objectivity. True, it is ultimately not absolutely or categorically possible to declare it as concretized objectivity, because how can we outside of ourselves measure it? We can only measure it ourselves and have it verified by others who are people like us. It could be that we're all programmed to see things in a certain way. It could be our brains are handicapped in certain ways, that they only read certain things in certain descriptions. Like if we're all programmed to see, I don't know, like let's say the color red as blue, then we will all see it like that, yet we will all call it red. If we're programmed to read rough as smooth or smooth as rough, or are we simply a vac, brain in a vac? Are we in a dream? These kind of things we have no way of absolutely knowing, except we just kind of pitch our tent, if you like, and and just kind of, that's it. This is what we're going with, that there is this objectivity, which is our kind of shared intersubjectivity. That said, I believe that there is an objectivity in the eyes of God. It may not be how we see the world, probably isn't, but yeah, if that answers your questions. Somebody said about the Quran not being. What's your view on Hari Ram serial kisser? Somebody says, dear, you naughty. You teasing me, you naughty. Right, so what's your view on Hari Ram? Somebody really repeating this question. Yaar, kya ho raha? Let me put that in timeout. Right, so people have just broken their fast. Mabruk. Right, so let's take a look. Right, Salam Mufti, what are the opinions of classical what classical scholars and teachers of muhaddithin like Shu'bah on Tadlees, also about Tadlees in Bukhari? So, okay, that's a very complex question. A very, not complex, but very kind of an intricate question. Tadlees does exist definitely in Sahih Bukhari. Imam Bukhari himself has done Tadlees, probably, arguably. I think Dhahabi says, does he say he's done it up to about 30 times or something? But he there's definitely some of his teachers. What is it? Is there? I think his name is Abdullah ibn Ahmad ibn Khalid, who he does Tadlees of on several occasions. He kind of uses different names for him, or says his name in a certain way that people can't pick up on it. Shu'bah was harsh on Tadlees. I do accept that. He was one of the only scholars to outright declare it haram, which I don't understand why most scholars didn't, to be honest. But I don't. Does that mean Shu'bah is always correct? I don't think it has to mean that, but I do like his attitude towards Tadlees. This Mufti is brother of Majid Namaz. Chalo, I'll have to ask my dad. Right, so devil's meant to be locked up. What are you doing? How authentic is the Musannaf of Abdul Razzaq? It's okay, but you can check each hadith on its own merits, really. Somebody asked about oud, satin, mood. Yeah, MFK, Francis Cook Joie, right? You know what? I don't actually. I'm not too fond of the oud satin mood. It's a bit too kind of rosy. It's got a strong kind of like a flowery rose kind of dominant element to it, really. A bit too I don't like it at all, to be honest. It's a bit it's not my kind of. I prefer the more woody kind of fragrances and things like that. Right. explanation of the earrings. I've got a detailed video on that. Do check it out. There's no point going over that. I've got Mufti, you made Sulaiman Al-A'mash weak about marital rape. Wouldn't it be hypocritical if you accept other hadith of this weak rawi? No, not at all. You see, because it's not, you see, this is the problem with sometimes our religious mindset. Like, we think like robots. Like, we think, oh, this person maybe got this wrong. This person in all life must get everything wrong. I mean, for God's sake, just look at yourself as an individual. I'm sure you get certain things wrong and you get certain things right. It's not, just because Sulaiman Al-A'mash in a particular hadith, I've said, A'mash is a nightmare when it comes to several riwayat. But does that mean every single thing he narrates? No. So what the golden principle is, ma lam yubayin al-ma'qul, it cannot go against reason. Lam yukhalif al-manqul, cannot clash with the Quran. Wa lam yunaqid al-usul, it cannot uproot an Islamic principle. Then we look at it. If it does, we already know there's a problem. Then we have to look at the illah, what I call the narratorial pathogens. So people, you think I'm not educated? So based on that, we can see the pathogen, the ilal, at that stage. Okay. Asma has asked, what's your views on Imam Asim Hussain returning to the scene after being out for a year? Will he make a strong comeback and win his fans over again? Could be. Place your bets. Should I ask him for an episode on MindTrap? What are your thoughts? Let me know if you think I should ask him, and then I'll reach out to him and see how that goes. If there's the janta ka demand, the public demand. Right, so what are we? Omar Cham has asked, or Omar Sham maybe. Would it be permissible for one to perform salah reciting the Quran in translated version in another language other than Arabic? You see, that's interesting because there's because there are fatwa from the early ulama, like early scholars like Imam Abu Hanifa, who argued that you could, because Imam Abu Hanifa himself, even though he spoke Arabic, obviously, but was of Persian descent, and his ancestors arguably lived near Kabul in Afghanistan, and then they were kind of brought down into the Middle East, and then later on Imam Abu Hanifa was born, Qadi Nu'man. Nu'man. See, what's interesting is when you say Qadi Nu'man, you've also got the great Fatimid Imam, who's known also as Abu Hanifa, Qadi Nu'man. And you've got Nu'man ibn Thabit, who's Imam Abu Hanifa. So it's interesting. So you have to, I suppose, to differentiate, call, Imam Abu Hanifa and maybe Qadi Nu'man, because he's also known as Abu Hanifa. Right, so Imam Abu Hanifa did have the fatwa that you could to create ease. I would say if a person didn't know Arabic and they were trying to learn Arabic, then during that stage, whilst they still don't know how to read, like this ain't a mushaf, but let's say this was a, if a mushaf and a person, they're struggling to read because they don't know the Arabic, how to read Arabic, but they're learning, then meanwhile, if they read in English or if they read in another language, I would believe that's fine. But I wouldn't say that for life. Like I would say this ought to be a kind of substitute effort until you can recite Arabic. Because the Quran, You see, there's something about the Quran. We have to understand that the Quran is it, it's kind of scripture in almost like an art mode. Okay, it has a special kind of ambience to it. It's not, I think the problem is we treat the Quran, and I get this as well, we treat the Quran just like a regular book, except a holy book. But really, the Quran came in a kind of like a rhythmic, almost art-like expression of scripture. And I feel that there was a reason behind that. You see, let me share a thought with you people. I was watching, those of you that haven't still seen Money Heist, or what is it, La Casa de Papel. It's obviously epic. One of the best TV series ever. But I was watching, after I finished finished the 4th season, I was watching they've got a documentary on Netflix called Money Heist: The Phenomenon. Now, and it's going through, it's interviewing the characters, and it's very fascinating for all the Money Heist fans. But there's something that got me. It provided an answer to me about something which I was thinking about for a while, and I couldn't quite fathom. I mean, it's like, maybe fathom isn't the right word. Like, I had the answer already, but it just didn't fit. And you see, in this documentary, there's a part where he's asked that, the directors are speaking about, or the producers, whoever it is, they're speaking about why was this a success? And they speak about several things. Why does it resonate with people? So they speak about, because of this, it represents, there's tension, there's so on, exciting, amazing story, blah, 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 blah. All that's, cinematography. But then there's a part that they speak about symbols. You see, one of the reasons it was such a great success is because of the symbols it brought back. Now, or it introduced. It's not about bringing back, but it introduced. Like an outfit. It introduced a color, red. It introduced the kind of Dali masks. It introduced the Bella Ciao kind of song, and sung it in a passionate way. It introduced the concept of resistance, la resistencia. This is incredibly fascinating because human beings need symbols. And when I was watching that, all of a sudden, something that was a kind of concept that was already in the back of my mind for now, I think maybe 1 to 2 years, just kind of clicked. And that was, I don't know if you guys remember when I've reviewed the book Arabs, a 3,000 year history. And in there, he speaks, Macintosh, he speaks about why he feels Islam took off the way it did in the early stages. And he says that, you see, it was the symbols that people, it was the thing like La ilaha illallah was a slogan. Takbir, things like Allahu Akbar. Even till today, he highlights that people use that as a kind of cry to attack or to do things, to kind of evoke strength. Allahu Akbar. That it was the fact they had a book, the fact that they had a point of direction, the Qibla. It was, you see, these things may not seem powerful, but when you bring them together, they are enough to mobilize an entire civilization. because people so desperately in their lives need symbols, and this resonates with them. So why am I? And when I was watching this thought, because when I'd heard that before and it was there, I mean I made sense of it, but it didn't fully click. And I was watching that documentary and it just clicked, and I thought, wow, I it just makes so much more. It's like a lens just comes into focus. I suppose it's like that hadith, which isn't, which is a weak hadith, but it says that everything about the scholar is an act of ibadah, even his sitting, drinking, sleeping. Ibadat kiye hain. It's because you never know what you're watching and what idea it kind of triggers in your mind. So yeah, so I thought, wow, that is so true, that dhalikal kitab, that book, because the concept of the book is what is so powerful to people, and it moves people. And for years I didn't understand that, because I used to think, well, why do Muslims feel so passionate about the Quran, yet they're not interested in learning Arabic and understanding the Quran? Because to them, the Quran is a symbol. It's the symbol of the book that is powerful, as opposed to even, the actual content. Even though I'm sure if you ask them, they'll obviously say it's important. But if you look at the reality, like, they're not actually that interested in learning about it, but it's the concept that mobilizes them, the symbol. So ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابَ الَّذِي لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ. Now this book. So, but yeah, I mean, that's a thought. I thought I'd kind of share that with you guys. I'm not sure if it makes much sense to you. If it doesn't, chalo. Chalta hai yaar. La bas. La bas, la bas. Huh? So what is going on, people? What is going on? All right, let's take some questions. Mufti Saab, which seerah book and tafsir book is best to read for? I honestly don't know. I want to know. I want to have to learn which are, tell me. By the way, maybe some of you guys can message me. What are some good English kind of books? Because my English reading is usually non-directly Islamic. So, I don't know what's the best book in English. Didn't Hamza Yusuf have something on seerah? Am I imagining that? Or did he just have, was it a course on it? Why are you wearing an earring? What is that a symbol for? Allah Miyan kabhi ishare karte hain, ishare. So this is it, people. The earring. Why not, huh? Imam Malik wore one. हम कौन होते हैं? People. يا أيها الساقي أدر كأسا وناولها. الله. فمن توقعه نفس في شراك العشق يعذلها. الله الله الله. ومن يرفع عسى الترحى ليوم مهما طال ينزلها. الله الله الله. Pear flavor, huh? Wow. That's a unique blend. Recently I've been listening to some of these moshahat in Arabic. They've been quite interesting. They're these kind of songs or poems that were written in ancient Andalus, Muslim Spain. Really fascinating, some of them. Maybe it's old age. I don't know what it is. I mean, I remember these same things coming across them like a few years back and thinking, oh, that's awful. And now I'm like, wow. ماذا يحدث? ¿Qué es eso? ¿Qué es eso? All right, so right, so let's take some more questions, people. Ma'am, any tips on how to deal with death and grief? Sanjida, बहुत serious question. Oof. आए थे मैं हंसते खेलते मैं खाने में आए थे. As Firaq Gorakhpuri Sahib says, that आए थे मैं खाने में हंसते खेलते हुए, शराब पी लिए तो संजीदा हो गए. Everything got serious after I had a drink. Ya salam. How do we cope with death, people? I don't know. In some ways, I feel maybe things like psychedelics might be an answer. But on a serious note, I think the more entheogen one, the ones about connecting with God, I don't know, I feel, because don't they give people an experience of death? And you experience it, and then you kind of lose a fear of death gradually. Oh, sorry, but the question is, how do you deal with the death of others? Oh, right, so how do we... that is tragic. I mean, I don't know, actually. It depends on... I think, do you really get over... There are certain things that you may never truly get over. And it seems strange, like sometimes even... I don't... Yes, Allah, may Allah make things easy. It is, I suppose if somebody's gone, they've gone. And there's nothing except if they were dear to you, except to kind of miss them. But... maybe you can make dua, maybe you can help. If they have family, you can help them. And I suppose they live on in your memories. They live on in your kind of story of life. So, and you have to kind of just accept it. You have to. I guess, you can't... Another thing is that just grieving, you can't just go on you can't kind of just throw the towel in just because that has happened in life. You have to keep going. It's such is the nature of life. अकेले तो हम पहले भी जी रहे थे फराज, न जाने क्यों तन्हा से हो गए तेरे जाने के बाद. Allah, Allah. He says that we used to be alone even before you, Faraz. Then why do we feel ever so incredibly lonely now that you have gone? But I suppose some people, they leave a void that can't be easily filled. Yes, Allah, may Allah make things easy. But you have to move on as well. But you have to move on, bring their memories with you as you move. But you can't kind of ruin yourselves. As Muslims, how should we navigate the impending human-artificial intelligence symbiosis? Symbiosis? How do the next generation connect to God when encapsulated in virtual reality? What do you think of Muhammad Hijab's interview with Noam Chomsky? I haven't seen it, but Noam Chomsky is a legend. I absolutely love him. So this is an interesting thought about artificial intelligence. I don't know. I mean, we are already at the beginning of that. How will it be in time to come? I don't know. Probably be much worse. Chalo, let's see. I do feel that when asked, what do I feel is the Dajjal? I've said that the Dajjal is not an antichrist. The Dajjal, in my understanding, is the great deception. That's what the term the Dajjal means. And this great deception is when reality and the virtual are blurred and become almost indistinguishable. And I don't feel that we are quite there, but I feel that we have embarked on that path. Somebody asked about Hadith. Yeah, about criticizing certain chains and things. Do watch my Bukhari Gate. I do go into that in much detail. In your poor understanding. Right, so Dajjal is a major... Yeah, the Antichrist Dajjal I don't believe in, but I believe in this thing of that there will come a time when the real and the virtual will become indistinguishable. Do you still... right, you are the deception, the Akhi of Dajjal. Why not, huh? Why not? You see, this is... And the irony is, yet have a Hadith scholar on your podcast. Of course, why not? Why not? Plug for friends course on what? Living with uncertainty. What is this? There's a course about living with uncertainty, 10 key ideas by Dr. Ahmed Afzal, and I can't read the last one. He's a tenured college professor. Okay, sure. I mean, if he's any good, do get him to Tahir or connect me with him, and I'd love to get him on a podcast. All right, people, what is going on? Right, Daniel, shukran, much love. All right, there was free on Udemy. I don't know what that means, free on Udemy. But yeah, this guy is wasted. But yet here you are watching me. Allah. What is my opinion on Quran alone Muslims? Okay, Quran verse about girls who haven't menstruated yet being okay to marry. I have mentioned that. Look, I'm pretty sure I've got a detailed clip on that actually. I don't know whether it's a separate clip here, but I do go through it in one of my Monday nights with Mufti, where I explain that, look, this verse that where Allah is addressing, Ya ayyuhan nabi, إذا طلقتم النساء فطلقوهن لعدتهن. When you divorce your women, and I suppose this is through the Prophet, it is meant generally that what should the divorce be like? How should it be that you should divorce them for an iddah? This is the kind of purpose. Now, Allah actually begins that verse then explaining the iddah, saying that those women that you have... Let me see. So I can bring forth the exact verses. Whoa, this is so small. The other Mus'haf is downstairs, so... Nope, it's not in this. 6, maybe in this. Mhm. Oh, so small to even see. Un momento, people. Almost there. Chalo, I'll bring it up in a moment then. And I'll go through those verses. But I have got a whole detailed explanation as it is. Just trying to find it, but my normal mushaf is down, and this is so tiny to look at. It's like a pocket that I'm struggling to. Here, okay. So this this begins that يا أيها النبي إذا طلقتم النساء فطلقوهن لعدتهن وأحصوا العدة. That when you divorce your women, divorce them for the iddah. And then Allah mentions واتقوا الله ربكم لا تخرجوهن من بيوتهن ولا يخرجن إلا أن يأتين بفاحش. And then the rules about where they spend the iddah. Do not just chuck them out the homes and do not do these things. Then it mentions that when they've reached the iddah, فإذا بلغنا أجلهن فأمسكوهن بمعروف وفارقوهن بمعروف. That once you reach the iddah has come to an end, there's no kind of withering about this. There's no kind of wavering. Either you guys reconcile or this divorce is complete and concretized. Now then Allah mentions that just in case people at a time of divorce, you see, and if you've spoken to people that are going through a divorce, and sometimes this may affect women more than men. I mean, it doesn't have to, but sometimes when I've spoken to people, women have raised this question more often than men when it's about divorce, that they fear that I desperately want to leave this guy, but I don't know, like, how will I support myself? I don't have, where will I get money from? Where will I get food? How will I live? And this is a common thing when people break away from relationships, especially if they are the dependent on the other. And hence, that's the next verse that Allah says, وَيَرْزُقْهُ, that don't fear that man kana yu'min billahi wal yawmil akhir wa man yattaqillaha yaj'al lahu makhraja, that Allah will set aside a solution, وَيَرْزُقْهُ, and Allah will bring rizq, provision to that person, min haythu la yahtasib, from a perspective where the person cannot even imagine. Allah will bring rizq to them. And then Allah mentions وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ, if only you have, whosoever has reliance on Allah, Allah will surely have them. Allah will catch them. That إِنَّ اللَّهَ بَالِغُ أَمْرِهِ قَدْ جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدْرًا, that Allah has set everything out, that Allah will exhaust the affair. He will see it through till the end. And it mentions then, you see, about the iddah. Why? Because when you've got women in iddah, you might have doubt about, wait a minute, and the women may have doubt, that is this, because it was set with menstrual cycles. It mentions وَاللَّائِي يَئِسْنَ مِنَ الْمَحِيضِ مِن نِسَائِكُمْ. What about women who don't have menstruation anymore, or they are kind of, they're in a menopause state? So Allah mentions that, but then you see those women who are in that stage, they already know that, right? We already know that they will, and we'll mention it here shortly, that they will kind of maintain 3 months. They will just go by a monthly calendar. That it mentions in irtabtum فَعِدَّتُهُنَّ ثَلَاثَةَ أَشْهُرٍ, that it's 3 months. But there's a key point here that many people overlook, and that is in irtabtum. If you are doubtful, like if you are in a state of doubt about what? Doubt about the fact that, am I menstruating? Has it stopped? Has it what? You see, because if you've got a clear menstrual cycle, you know. And then Allah mentions, وَاللَّائِ لَمْ يَحِضْنَا. You see, that's joined onto the 3 months. So the iddah is 3 months, and those who don't have these menstrual cycles. Now, does this mean, like little girls who don't have a menstrual cycle? Now, true, they don't have a menstrual cycle, but them not having a menstrual cycle is a matter of certainty. Like, you don't doubt, like they're not going to doubt, do they have it or don't they have it? That's not. So when Allah mentions, if you are doubtful, in irtabtum, because some women, they will have irregular cycles, like, and the kind of like the variation will be highly irregular sometimes. Some people, some women may not have cycles for a huge part of a year even, like, so, or maybe half a year or several months, and they can have quite some irregularity. So Allah is mentioning in the beginning just normal, look, this is the iddah, 3 menstrual cycles. But if you are doubtful, because if you've already entered the menopause years ago, then you're not doubtful. You know that, look, I'm not going to have menstrual cycles. So it's not, they are clear where they stand. But in irtabtum, if you are still have some doubt, like I'm not, I don't know, have I entered this, haven't I entered this, but I'm not having, wallati, it mentions, wallahi lam yahidna, and they haven't kind of menstruated. So, I don't know. So they can have 3 months. Set aside 3 months, right? And just count the calendar months. And then Allah mentions wa ulatul ahmal, and women who are pregnant, ajaluhunna, that they think, and yada'na hamlahunna. Now, and even then, yes, so, and even then Allah goes on to speak about where they live and things like that, and discuss those matters. Right, so this verse, to say this verse is speaking about little girls, in all honesty, just being honest with the situation, it does not reflect that. If you read that with an open mind, what could it be? Because it begins by saying women. It doesn't say girls, it says nisa, women. And then it's speaking about the iddah and those who've reached isna min al-mahid in irtabtum. But if you're in a state of doubt and they're not menstruating, then you can have 3 months. So that's not some kind of gymnastics. That's the actual reading of the Quran. So yeah, I hope that makes some sense. Let me just check. Inaya has asked, I don't pray 5 times anymore. I just feel it's mechanical and forced. I don't like feeling pressured. Will I be sent to hell? Acha. You don't like pressure. How's the pressure of 10,000 degrees Celsius? Burn! Shame! No, I'm messing. Look, this deen is a path upon which we all walk individually. Okay, so this deen faith is an individual journey. Okay. Prayers, devotion, commitment, these things may mean different things to different people at varying stages of this journey. And sometimes our journey, our kind of experience is almost, it's like an elasticated kind of experience, like we spring out, spring back in, spring out, spring back in. Sometimes to some people, reflection, pondering, meditating, reading, learning is an act of devotion. It's an act of worship, tafakkur, tadabbur. To some people, doing dhikr, praying nafal, keeping fasts, that is an act of, and that is clearly, that's ritual worship. But, sometimes some people may kind of feel that they can't pray, that they can't do certain things, that they understand it, but they don't, find themselves on that particular, walking that walk for whatever reason. I would say, look, your journey is your own, okay? Take your time, inshallah. I mean, I do feel the concept of ritual is important for human beings. Allah has placed that knowingly, how important ritual is. Sometimes I would say that that no matter where you find yourself, these things are like a kind of lifeline. They're like a kind of it's like a rope thrown from a ship, and you kind of feel that you are still connected. That's how I feel. I mean, I would say that even if you don't pray, sometimes, if you don't pray, maybe someday you will, maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe you won't ever pray. But I would say don't kind of develop a hatred for the prayer. The prayer is not to be hated. Everybody can slack in the prayer. Look at great Imams in the past. They abandoned the prayer sometimes. Imam Ghazali abandoned it for a certain while. There was the great, Sayfuddin Al-Amidi, they say he abandoned Salah, one of the greatest usuliyin. But they came back, they fluctuated, but they, just didn't feel at a certain point, they just left it. They weren't kind of, but don't develop a kind, don't kind of, what I'm trying to say, don't transfer negativity onto the Salah. The Salah is not about being pressured. If somebody can only pray all his fara'id, let's say he only prays them before going to sleep, fine. Some person, they pray them, they combine 3 at a particular point of the day and they combine 2 at night, fine. Some person maybe prays subah when they wake up, whenever that is, then combines the other 2 and then combines the other 2, fine. I mean, every person is on their own journey. It's not for somebody else to really condemn them or to tell them off or to do things like that. But the way I see Salah is, it's not about praying it because you're scared. This is me personally. It's not about praying Salah because I'm scared of being punished or I'm scared of bad luck. It's about wanting to pray, in the sense that, like, I feel, if anything, it's a tiny appreciation. God doesn't need it, but it's something that kind of, I don't know, it's something that, a pulse that I remain kind of connected to. Even if I have to sometimes combine prayers, sometimes I might slack on prayers, sometimes I might not. Just like everybody else, I'm no bloody, different in that regard. But I wouldn't project negativity onto the prayer. And I don't personally pray out of this kind of fear of burning in hell and things like this. I just pray out of a kind of sense of gratitude. That's what I would say. If you pray like that, that's the best way to pray. Look, somebody came to the Prophet ﷺ and his wife actually complained about I've narrated this story on several occasions where the wife came and she complained and said, he doesn't let me. She complained about three things. I think one was about giving in charity or something, that I think he was controlling her wealth or something. Or he wasn't controlling her wealth, but he was being controlling. The other was, I think she wanted to keep voluntary fasts and he was objecting. And the third was that he wouldn't. Your couple complaints. She proper did him over. She complained to the Prophet. She said, he doesn't even wake up for subah. Ye dekho, check him out. He doesn't even pray Fajr on time. So the Prophet calls this person, I believe it was Safwan ibn Mistah, I believe. But anyway, he calls this companion and says, what's this that I'm hearing? So this person says about, the charity, I thought, and the Prophet says, look, let her give in charity. Don't stop her. So he says, okay. And the Prophet asks him, what's this about the fast? What's this objection towards the fast? So he had said, well, look, he was newly married and, testosterone a bit high, there's some other matters one must also can't neglect. Babu Bhai department. So the Prophet, in regards to that, just said to them that, look, they should have some mutual understanding. Like, take it easy to both, to him and to her, that, look, you don't need, relax as well with the worship. You don't, keep it moderate. You don't need to kind of go full on, thinking. But at the same time, told him to be understanding. But then asked him, what's this about not praying? What this no pray, no salah? So check his response out. He says, somebody corrected me, I think it's Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal, somebody saying. It may have been Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal. Oh, wasn't Safwan ibn al-Mu'attal the foster child of Abu Bakr? Anyway, right, so I remember his name being Safwan, the surname I've kind of forgotten right now. So the Prophet asks him, why don't you pray? So he says that, look, inna qawmun, we are a people who don't wake up except after sunrise. لا نستيقظ إلا بعد طلوع الشمس. Wah, Chodrahat. This is Chaudhry Saab saying, look, this is the kind of Chodrahat, the kind of, we only wake up, we're a people who only wake up after sunrise. So the Prophet's response here is amazing. That the Prophet could have said that, look, listen, don't you know how the hellfire is? Don't you know how this is? How dare you live a life of luxury? How dare you refuse to sacrifice some sleep? How dare you? But yet the Prophet's response was, the Prophet said, فَإِذَا اسْتَيْقَظْتَ فَصَلِّ. He said, okay, when you wake up, pray. And that is one of the most amazing responses ever. Because the Prophet never said, oh my God, you're gonna burn in hell, you're gonna watch what God does to you, watch this, watch that. No, he never said, oh my God, you're gonna get bad luck, or none of that. The Prophet said, إِذَا اسْتَيْقَظْتَ فَصَلِّ. So, and somebody said, where is this hadith found? That hadith, I believe it's in Abu Dawud, and it's in several, it's in, I think, Bayhaqi, it's in, I know Tahawi brings it as well. It's a very famous hadith. إِذَا اسْتَيْقَظْتَ فَصَلِّ. Even if you just do a quick search, it'll come right up. Right, so I hope that, right, so what's going on? What's going on, people? What is... somebody said it is Safwan ibn Mu'attal. Shukran. Because I thought for a moment, I mixed them up, Safwan ibn Mistah and Safwan ibn Mu'attal. Safwan ibn Mu'attal, shukran. Right, so... right, so what is going on? Whoa, some question. Somebody say, Mufti, more. Was there a super chat that I missed? Mufti, I and my girlfriend want to get married secretly. Let's bring them in live, both of them. अबे बैठ अच्छा अरे शादी हो रही है secret nikah. let's bring in both of them live. That see फिर class लेते हैं. Set these people. अच्छा, I want to get married secretly. Is it okay? Because we're not harming anyone. I should be a judge. We're not harming anyone, and our secret marriage is agreed by us, but not by parents. Yeah. You see, I've got a response on this before in much detail. But what I would say is that, look, these things... you see, people have to make a sensible decision. Okay. You see, I've said before, I don't believe things like mut'a are haram. I don't believe things like... I've got a detailed video where I speak about nikah with a wali. Is a guardian a condition for a nikah? Now, like you're asking in the question, the parents don't know, or they won't agree. I don't know. I'm guessing it could be one or the other. What I would say is that, look, sometimes parents can be unnecessarily stubborn. They can be very kind of dogmatic. They can cause a lot of, they can be like that. And I get that. And I understand that they don't have a right in that sense to stop other people from trying to live their lives. On the same token, what I would say is that, for some girls, maybe this is not for all. Maybe this varies amongst people. But look, if you have to be real and be sensible as well. Because you are taking a risk with this guy. Because I'm going to be honest that I say openly, look, most guys are dogs. Right, okay, so, now I don't, if this is a relationship, like let's say a guy and a girl have an understanding that they like each other, and they understand that this may not go somewhere long term. And they want to be in a relationship, and they're both accepting of that. Like, they recognize that, but they like each other, and they want to be intimate, and they want to have a relationship, like, let's say, for that period of time. Okay, as consenting adults, I would say, fine. I would feel that the Sharia does give that permission to them. It's not haram in Islam. However, some people may not be that kind of mature. Especially, and I don't mean this in a way to infantilize people or to say that, for example, boys or girls are dumb. It's not an issue of being dumb. But sometimes, let's say a girl, and I'm aiming this at the girls because society is harsher, unfortunately, towards girls. So, if a girl is madly in love with a guy, and she's thinking that I'm going to do a secret nikah with him, and I don't care, my parents can go to hell, and they can go to hell, and they can go to hell, and, I'm just going to live with him, and it's going to be heaven, but why can't he do an open nikah then? Why can't he just do it open? Why secret? Because she's going to say, well, because then there's going to be a backlash, and I just want to... I know this ain't going to really go anywhere and we're just doing it like that. Okay, but then you are taking that responsibility, because let's say 6 months down the road, he says, well, now this chaska is over. Chaska, boss, chaska. And he says, this, this kind of like excitement is now, now this excitement not too exciting. Now excitement need new excitement. So at that point, he's saying, yeah, I'm not that, I'm a bit desensitized here. I needed somebody else. You see, and the problem is that may very well happen in these societies. In society, not these, in society. And you have to understand that you are taking on that responsibility. Now, if you are going to be crushed, if you're met with such a situation, then then this is the point that you have made that decision. So I would say that, look, don't treat these things lightly. I understand that in some situations, parents are just being so harsh unnecessarily, and you may have to make a decision in life. I get that. But I'm not so fond of the whole secret thing. But I understand that there may be situations where people may say, look, it's not a secret, but we're not, shouting at the top of our throats about it. And that's fine. But remember, you have to bear that responsibility. Like, I would say, let there be some kind of transparency. That, are you thinking, just in case you're thinking that, he's going to stick with me through thick and thin, and he's thinking this is a spring term thing. And that kind of heartbreak might be devastating. And you might, and then you're kind of like, you don't know who to turn to, you don't know. So what I'm saying is just be sensible. Look, your decision is your decision. I don't feel people have the right to rob that from you, but I feel it's important to say, with that decision does come responsibility. Don't later on kind of say, well, oh my God, you have to make that decision and look at it. Look, worst case, I embrace it. And then fair enough. If you're happy with that, then that's what I would say. But be a realist. Okay, so that's what I want to kind of. So if a girl is happy to embrace it like that, sometimes some women may already be, for example, they've got mothers, they may have, they may already be in a certain lifestyle that they're happy. Like, they don't, they've got a career, or they're focused on business, or they're focused on studies, or they've got maybe children or a child, or they've, let's say, a relationship they've already had, it's over, and they don't mind having a relationship like that. Or maybe a good woman isn't even in those circumstances and doesn't mind. But what I'm trying to say is, if you are expecting this kind of vision of a knight in shining armor, and we're going to have all these amazing kind of, coffee with Bay, and in the Bahamas with Bay, and I don't know what ye Bay kahan se aa jati hai? Bay ji. Bay is what we used to say in our language. We say for mum. I mean, say ammi, but like Bay as well. Ji tusani Bay. It's like coffee with Bay. So all of this. So I'm just saying, take that into consideration, because if you fall, if you hit the ground, you're gonna hit it hard. So be wary. That's all. Right, a video by Atlantean Gardens Kaaba symbolizing the feminine aspect of God before patriarchy, cover-up history. Black cube is ancient feminist symbol everywhere. Black cube. Yeah, I mean, they say that the black cube represented, some of them have said, they disagree amongst themselves. Some have said it was Dhul Shara, who was Baal shaman, who was a masculine deity. But then some have said a cube symbolized Uzza as well. It symbolized her, who was feminine, who I think they also linked to Artemis and some other female deities and things like that. But yeah, I mean the feminist or femin, I don't know, the feminist feminine symbol is still present in many things, but I don't think that. Um, I don't know if the Kaaba is the Kaaba a feminine symbol or is it? I don't know. I suppose Kaaba is feminine in Arabic. Um, I suppose I can see that. I can see that in some ways, that it being feminine, in the sense that it's the word is feminine. Kaaba, هذه الكعبة المباركة, for example. Um, the fact that it's clothed, and the concept of clothing, let's say covering up, because the kiswa means a clothing that they put over it. Kissing of the black stone. I mean, I can see that kind of, if you, in a symbolic term, I can kind of see that. Who? I mean, who is there that doesn't surrender to the feminine, to the power of the feminine? Ultimately, huh? It's where all strength just kind of like crumbles to its knees. Right, so circle is feminine. Okay, is it? Okay, I didn't realize circle. Yeah, I suppose so. With women's kind of circular, their cycles, and I can see. But yeah, I mean, I don't know whether in Islam it definitely, I can see that femininity associated with the Kaaba, but I don't know whether it's so strongly stands out. It hasn't really generally to me, but I can see that. To be fair, I have pondered historically over the concept of the kiswa. Why dress the Kaaba? I have actually thought and found that a bit strange at times. But yeah. Can the follower of a Hanafi madhab do Raf al-Yadayn? Yes, they can. They can, yeah. Although the Hanafis won't be too pleased about it. Sorry to be so rude. What's the rude thing? Yeah, I need to. Somebody saying love you, Mufti. Love you too, yeah. Jio Meri Jaan. Right, so exactly, Mufti, the power of the feminine crumbles every man and child. It does. I definitely believe that. I feel that the power of, and I feel sometimes that, you know, don't you, like, even the aggression. You know, sometimes I think, how can I don't know how to say certain things without them coming across. I think sometimes even, you see, a man and a woman, the union, the blessed union, I think I can see why certain psychoanalysts or people, they speak about during the whole, the sexual the act, that with many men, let's say if there is a kind of like a, without it being too forceful, like an aggression, let's say, is that not to regain a sense of power because they feel so powerless in front of the feminine form? Is that not that they feel that kind of disempowers them, and that kind of like rage, or I don't, rage is a strong word, but that kind of force, that eruption of male prowess and power, is to kind of regain that power. I don't know. I felt that there's a lot of truth to that. That it's because men feel so disempowered by, in many occasions, by women who physically may be, you know, they're not as powerful as the men physically, but they feel that how can they be so disempowered by this figure, by this person, by this form? that kind of triggers a turbulence, a kind of turmoil within, and sometimes that can result in hatred if mischanneled towards women. So sometimes you see in certain cultures people chastise women. They kind of like, if a woman is so beautiful, and you see in certain cultures they will try to disfigure them and throw acid and things like this, barbarity in its most ugliest form. And I feel that is because of their own insecurities to handle this kind of disbalancing, this imbalance of power within themselves. I don't know, that's some psychobabble talk, but I feel that there's a lot of truth to things like that. क्या बता? मुफ्ती साहब, आपकी एज क्या है? हमारी एज बहुत हो गई बेटवा. I'm 41 now. That's right. So Mufti trying to get with the I'm not trying to get with a feminist. I'm trying to understand the aggression within. कि यार ये कहाँ से ये आग क्यों भड़कती है यार? From where come this fire? Why this? Why is it? So this is why I think it is. Somebody said, well, you look 40. Well, a year younger than I am, I guess. How do you cope with anxiety, panic attacks? What do you think is the best way to cope? You have to calm yourself. I'm not sure what the panic attack is about. It could be an emotional event, I don't know, so I suppose it could be a one-off. But generally, if you're somebody that generally gets into, you have to really come to terms with that. Claes, I challenge you to an arm wrestle, Mufti. I'd lose. I need that strength. The sperm goes around 7 times around the egg. Acha. Maybe penku or ye bhi penku. This is here's somebody trying to Islamicize the fertilization. So what is going on, people? What is going on? Whoa, we've gone on. Right, I did want to speak about this whole Tariq Jamil Saab thing. Let me bring this up, people. So there's been a huge backlash to this Maulana Tariq Jamil Saab event. So what's happened? Let me give you a backdrop. There's been a speech that was done by Maulana Tariq Jamil. He was called on a kind of platform. I'll play a few minutes of it. And it's triggered a huge kind of backlash. People saying that, he's being misogynistic. What he was doing is, it was a kind of a live event to raise, it was a charity event, I believe, to raise money. And he was called on to make dua at the end. Now, in the dua, it was a very emotional dua he did, and he spoke about certain things, and he criticized the media, that they need to stop spreading falsehood and lies, and he spoke about modesty, and this triggered a lot of people, especially a lot of women. There was a backlash, like things like this. Shireen Mazari, I'm not sure who that is, but she says, simply absurd for anyone under any guise to even suspect the COVID pandemic is a result of women wearing short sleeves or because of private schools, universities misleading the youth. It's utterly unacceptable, and it's a misogynist mindset. Benazir says, Tariq Jamil's comments about immoral women and corona sum up the thinking of most clergy in Pakistan, and dare I say, the Prime Minister himself. Wah, wah, wah. Some other comments went on to say, some person said, I think the women have gone mad. He never blamed women for the pandemic. Please watch it again. So a woman saying, Farzana saying that. People have misunderstood it. Oh, right. There was. Let's take a look at what he actually
हाथ जोड़
said.
के एंकर बैठे हैं, माफी मांग के बात कर रहा हूँ। एक बहुत बड़े चैनल के मालिक ने मुझसे कहा कोई नसीहत करे, मैंने कहा चैनल से झूठ खत्म कर दो। कहा फिर चैनल खत्म हो सकता है, झूठ नहीं खत्म हो सकता। तो जहाँ जिसको ये सिर्फ पाकिस्तान की बात नहीं, पूरी दुनिया का मीडिया झूठा है और सबसे
So
ज्यादा
saying
झूठ
that media
बोला जाता है।
worldwide
और मेरे रब को, मेरे नबी
is
को
full of
झूठ से
it's fake
नफरत।
news.
मेरे नबी ने फरमाया प्याज खा के मस्जिद में मत आओ कि फरिश्तों को तकलीफ होती है, बू होती है। लेकिन मेरे नबी ने फरमाया जब कोई मर्द औरत झूठ बोलता है तो फरिश्ते उसके मुंह की बदबू से 3 मील दूर भाग जाते।
So this
तो
part's
झूठ
about
और
lying.
खयानत के साथ हम किसी आफत का मुकाबला नहीं कर सकते। आपने फरमाया सिद्क़ हदीसन हिफ्ज़ अमानत, सच बोलना चाहे जान चली जाए, और धोखा ना देना। मुसलमान किसी को धोखा नहीं देता है। तीसरा फरमाया हुस्न खलीक़तन,
That having good
अपने
character.
अखलाक अच्छे करना, और अखलाक का सबसे ऊंचा मकाम हया है। अब मैं कैसे बात करूं? मेरे देश में हया को किसने तार तार किया? मेरे देश की बेटियों को कौन नचा रहा है? उनके कपड़े लिबास मुख्तसर कौन करवा रहा है? ये किसके गर्दन में मैं ये गुनाह डालूं? मैं मुजरिम हूं, मैंने अपनी कौम को नहीं समझाया, मैं अल्लाह से माफ़ी मांगता हूं। लेकिन जब मुसलमान की बेटी बेहयाई की तरफ चल पड़े और नौजवान बेहयाई की तरफ चल पड़े तो अल्लाह की रहमत। सबसे ज़्यादा अजाब कौम लूत पर आया कि वो बेहयाई में सारी बाउंड्रीज क्रॉस कर गए थे, तो अल्लाह ताला ने उन पर 5
They
अजाब
were
भेजे। 5
rapists as
किसी
well.
कौम पे 5 अजाब नहीं आए, एक ही अजाब आता था, उन पर 5 अजाब आए। तो तीसरी बात मेरे नबी ने फरमाई है कि हया वाले बनो, हया वाले बनो। लेकिन मेरी नस्ल है, मुझसे खान साहब ने बात की थी पहली दफ़ा कि मैं चाहता हूँ कि मेरी यूथ अल्लाह के नबी के साथ जुड़े, क्योंकि जो हमारे कॉलेज हैं, हमारी यूनिवर्सिटीज़ हैं, हमारे ख़ास तौर पर जो ये प्राइवेट स्कूल्स हैं, ये उम्मत को, नौजवानों को अल्लाह रसूल से काट रहे हैं। तो अल्लाह ताला ये पहला शख्स है जिसके लिए मेरे दिल से दुआ निकली जब इसने कहा कि मैंने आपको इसलिए बुलाया है कि मेरी कौम अपने नबी के साथ कैसे जुड़ जाए। मैं क्या बताऊं, जब तक इस बेहयाई को नहीं हम रोकते, और कोई रोक नहीं सकता है, अंदर से नियत ना हो।
This is a very interesting point.
मैंने मैट्रिक किया है, हमारे एक वार्डन, मैं हॉस्टल में रहता था, वो आ गया, नमाजी थे, उन्होंने नमाज की सख्ती कर दी, हम बेवजू जाके खड़े होकर नमाज पढ़ लेते थे, बेवजू।
To pray without
क्योंकि
wudu.
डंडा इंसान को इंसान नहीं बनाता है जब तक इंसान अपने मन में डूब कर पा जा सुराग़े जिंदगी। तू अगर मेरा नहीं बनता ना बन अपना तो बन। ये तो अपने अंदर दिल दरिया समंदरों डूघे कौन दिलां दिया जाने हो, विच्चे बेड़े विच्चे झेड़े विच्चे वंज मुहाने हो। मेरी कौम झूठ छोड़ दे, मेरी कौम बदयांती छोड़ दे, मेरी कौम बेहयाई छोड़ दे। वअफ़्फ़तुन फ़ी तुअमतिन, आखिरी बात मेरे नबी ने कहा रिज़्क़ हलाल।
Right, I want to play that clip so you can kind of make up your own mind on whether what you feel has kind of happened there. Is he really those comments, all this kind of hate that he's been facing? In my understanding, honestly, I don't necessarily generally have to agree in outlook with Maulana Tariq Jamil Saab, but in all honesty, I think that, you see, I didn't feel that he was blaming women in saying that, oh, this is women's fault that coronavirus has come. But he was trying to say that, look, in times of calamity, we need to return to, this is what I felt, that we need to also use this as an opportunity to inspect our own morals. Are we being truthful? Why are we full of lies? Why is there, and that final point, although I didn't include much of that about rizq halal, that having halal means of income, not kind of conning people, not taking bribes. And in between, he mentioned about modesty. Now, he did say that, look, who is it that makes the daughters of this country dance, and who makes them do this and wear these kind of clothes? And then he does say that. Now, look, I would feel, although we can disagree on certain things, we can disagree on certain fiqh views, but generally, whether by and large you agree or not, I think some kind of approaches or some aspects are important in society, that they, whether we we completely identify with it or not. Like him, I can understand if he only goes on about women, but he didn't. And that most of that talk, just that was, I think, about a 16-17 minute talk, and that was just, I think, about 3 minutes or 2 minutes where he mentions about the women. But he doesn't just say women. He says, look, modesty is going, and people are, what's happening. And then he says, and what can we do anyway? You can never impose. These are things which have to come from the heart. I would personally support Maulana Tariq Jamil Saab. I feel he is one of the only scholars that has ever worked for unity amongst different sects. I feel that he is one of the only people to publicly on media say that, look, he said a great media channel person approached me and he said, advised me, and he said, I said, stop telling lies. That was at the beginning of that speech. And he said, the person said, well, if I shut the lies down, I might as well shut the channel down. He said the lies won't stop, but the channel, will come to an end. And I feel that even if I disagree with certain things, like let's say him saying, let's say he feels music is haram. Let's say, I don't know whether he does. I think he may feel, and I don't feel that music is haram. I would still feel that a person, that kind of a voice that says certain things, calls people to certain views, even if they're different to my views, but from a very a caring kind of like angle, I feel is important in society. You see, I think because people, whether we agree with the ins or outs, they need these general reminders just to reflect. I don't know, that's what I feel. So even if I disagreed with Maulana Tariq Jamil on certain particulars, but I would feel that as a universal, that this kind of a voice is an important, necessary voice in society. Something that makes people reflect, something that makes people kind of think at times. And I didn't feel that he was being misogynistic. But that said, he actually came on TV since then, and he issued he stated an apology. He said that, look, I apologize if I hurt anybody's feelings, and he says he says he made a mistake. He shouldn't have even said that. And I think that is so big and telling of him, that he can actually do that. That because he's huge as a name, to come and openly admit to, look, say, okay, I made a mistake, hands up. But I didn't even really think that he was being that bad, and I didn't think he was saying, oh, women were the cause of, although if he kind of did mention that, look, oh, we need to, where has modesty gone, and so on. But there's nothing wrong in having a message about modesty. You see, because it's interesting, because we have to remember that sometimes there's certain things we might do them, but we don't want them done as rules in society. Like let's say with your children. So, like, I don't believe personally it's haram to swear. I don't mean swearing at people, but just generally profanity. In it's like if I said, F this, man, or I don't think that's haram. But I wouldn't want to do that in front of my children, and I wouldn't want them to be using profanity in front of me. Like, so, there's etiquettes, I guess. There's like propriety. There's certain, each setting has a kind of guidelines, if you like, that there's rules, and it's good to have some of these things in society, even if on a level of particulars you may disagree with certain things, but to have them, I don't know, that's maybe, I don't know, maybe people disagree with me on that, but I I feel that these voices are still important voices in society. And he's not like a Taliban voice. He's not like somebody like beat him down. And in fact, he even said, look, nobody should ever try to impose these things. He gave the example of he said when he used to be in school or college or wherever it was, they used to, somebody used to impose salah, so they used to pray without wudu. So this was his point. So right, so I don't know, I feel that's my thoughts on this. Right, people, I think we got to wrap this up. Somebody said the Quran says don't use foul language. Yeah, right, so the Quran generally is teaching about saying good words, but that's in addressing other people. It's like when I'm speaking to, like if swearing at someone may be haram. If you're trying to insult them, swear at them. But just swearing in and of itself, I don't feel is haram. It's just words, isn't it? It's just an expression. It's not it's not something. And I've got I'm sure I've got a detailed video on that anyway. That you have to remember, in their own way, the Salaf used to swear in their own way. They obviously, swears have changed over the day and age. Today swears are quite sexual. In the past they were more to do with curses and damnation and death and things like that. So swears are always to do with the taboo of the age. It's not to do with how they always work. Right, guys, let's wrap this up. There were some questions on Taraweeh. How much Taraweeh should a person pray? Somebody had asked, according to the Maliki Madhab, the school of Medina. The school of Medina doesn't consider Taraweeh to be a sunnah like that. It just considers it to be kind of, established by the sunnah, but it's not like a emphasized sunnah or something like that. So they will consider it mustahab, which means that, yes, it was shown by the Prophet, but it wasn't something that the Prophet ﷺ necessarily that you need to do in that sense, or it wasn't that emphasized, but it's a good thing, it's a good practice. So it's a nafli ibadah. The Malikiyah have obviously obligation, fard, then they have sunnah, which is that which the Prophet did or he made apparent. Some say that he did it in a jama'ah, but others say he continuously did, wadhaba ali. And then you have mustahab in the Maliki Madhab, and mandub as well, they can call it. Now this is what is recommended. Now this, it's usually a lesser, you can call it a lesser sunnah if you like. It's something that the Prophet encouraged, but he may not have always done it. So the Prophet may have said, after, let's say, after wudu, praying 2 rak'ah, or when you go into a masjid, you should pray 2 rak'ah tahiyatul masjid. These things the Prophet encouraged, but it's not like he always stuck to this, or he made it like an absolute habit. And the other madhabs differentiate. So the Hanafis have much more categories. They have like fard, wajib, sunnah, mu'akkada, ghayr mu'akkada, mustahab. God knows where they bring their mustahab. Because their mustahab is not even from the sunnah. Which is like, well, how can it be recommended if the Prophet never even taught it? But anyway, that's not to Hanafi bash. But the point is, so the Maliki mustahab is that which the Hanafis would call probably sunnah or sunnah ghayr mu'akkada. Both of their sunnahs would probably fall into this, and maybe their wajibs or some of their sunnah mu'akkadat might fall into our sunnah. So Taraweeh is just mustahab, it's just recommended. It's not even a strong sunnah. So if you pray, alhamdulillah, it's good. It's not something you demonstrate your iman. It's not because, wow, you're so holy, you pray Taraweeh. If you pray, it's great. If you don't, you don't. Right, so what I would say is that within the school of Medina, there's no set number on Taraweeh. So Bakr ibn al-Arabi, all these people, they write about Taraweeh that there is no set number. Some people have said you can even pray 2, like Sidi Ahmad Zarruq and other people have commented on this. You can even pray 2, or some people say, okay, why not pray 8? That's what comes in a hadith. Imam Malik in the Muwatta brings 2 hadith That one he brings where they prayed 8 in the time of Umar, one where they prayed 20 in the time of Umar. And Imam Malik brings them both, and I feel that the reason he does that is to demonstrate the number isn't set. In the time of Imam Malik himself, people say that arguably they prayed 36 in the masjid. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz had set 36. And this was just that they were praying much shorter rak'at and they were praying more rak'at, so it was about the same kind of time. Imam Malik himself never used to pray in the mosque, and he himself, when he was asked about Taraweeh, he said, I don't think people should pray. He said, I don't say to pray in a mosque, but I think the mosques, some people should be praying it. So the mosque shouldn't be abandoned, but generally, he said it's better to pray it at home. But I understand in this day and age, people ain't going to really pray it at home. So if they want to pray it in the mosque, that's great. Obviously, right now, there's coronavirus. So that's not happening. If you want to pray virtual Taraweeh, you know, if it's the only way that you're going to feel really motivated, then I feel that's fine. You can do it. I know there's huge ikhtilaf. Most people don't allow it. Reason I would say it's fine, apart from some people that have written on it, like Sidi Abul Fayd Ahmed Al-Ghumari has a risala called Al-Iqna' fi Sihhati Salat Al-Jum'ah Khalf Al-Midya', where he speaks about this, proving that you can pray Jum'ah, a virtual Jum'ah. But I would say, because look, Taraweeh is ultimately just nafil anyway. It's a voluntary prayer. I don't see the big deal. What's the big deal? Like, it's your own prayer anyway. Even if you're following the TV or whatever it is, it's still your own salah that you're praying. And given the circumstances of the pandemic, I would feel if that helps you, it's permissible. People, right, with that, let's wrap this up. If there's any issues, if you've got any ideas, suggestions for MindTrap, if you've got people you think are interesting and interested, ask them, hook me up, inshallah, with them. You can always reach out to me on Instagram, on Facebook Messenger. If you haven't already liked let me bring this up, my other channels, my YouTube channel, do like it, people. And what to do, click for notifications. So I'm releasing a video every day. You'll get notified. It tells me, by the way, you think I can't see? I can tell who hasn't subscribed. People, you stingy haramis. Right, other than that, take very good care of yourselves. Much love as always, people. Mwah. Right, may this Ramadan be blessed. Do look out for my MindTrap. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.